Welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series featuring master coaches from around the world. Let's journey together on this 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Giuseppe Totino is a Master Certified Coach, an ICF Registered Mentor Coach, Assessor and Trainer, a Certified Professional Facilitator, and a Leadership Development and Executive Coach. For over 15 years, he has worked with coaches as a coach and mentor, and with organizational leaders as a learning facilitator to over 1,800 top executives, middle managers, emerging leaders, and teams worldwide. Now on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the 100 Master Coaches show. This is Coach Mal, and today on my show, I have a special guest from Orlando, Florida. He's none other than Giuseppe Totino. Can you give him a big round of applause? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here with you now.
So glad for you to be here as well. We had a bit of a chat during the pre-show. I hear that you can actually speak 4 languages. Is that true?
Well, yeah, different levels. I would say I can speak up to 6 languages, but not all in the same at the same level. But yes,
that's beautiful.
You can tell, yeah.
I'm sure it comes handy, right? Everywhere you go.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say a dinner table is always a useful tool to have to connect with others. Maybe I do not necessarily coach on in all those languages, but certainly to create connections and be friend with people around the world. It's always someone that speaks your language, and so you can get around almost anywhere with languages. So it's and I'm very passionate about this. Learning languages is a way to really get to, as I said, connect to others, and I love it. I really do.
Yeah. So in my Malaysian language, I would say Selamat datang, Giuseppe. Right? That means welcome to you. So we're going to start right now and kick off with our first question. Tell us, how did it all begin for you, your coaching journey?
Yes, and once again, thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
It's a great pleasure, really, to be with you today. And I looked at the long list of people you interviewed. I'm very honored that I'm also you wanted me to be here. So how it all began, it goes back to what I called my first life, the life pre-coaching. Which is a life in a large corporation and in the consulting world. I was working for one of the big 4 at the time, big 5 consulting company or consulting firms, I would say. And I was in the legal department and talking tax and all that financial things. And at the time, I am a chartered tax advisor, and I was doing this tax consulting, and I received a coach myself. And when you do tax, you don't really see the best side of human beings, do you? It's just a different world.
Yes.
And but when I was with my coach, I really could connect at a different level with my coach. And you hear me talking, using this word connections, or connecting a few times here now. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that connection with my coach, as I said, and that quality of connection. And there was a time in my life of big transitions, and I was, becoming a father. I was changing a country where I was living, and friends and food and everything really was changing. And I decided to really stop, have a break for myself. And I thought, what do I want to do when I grow older? and wiser, I should say
Yeah.
also. And I remember that quality of connection that I had with my coach. And obviously, being a consultant, it's about supporting others in a different way, but it is about supporting others. But I wanted to do it by maintaining that quality of connection and building and establishing that quality of connection with my
I
clients.
see.
And so it was easy for me to do 2+2, to be honest, to connect the dots. And that's where, when it all began, I decided to embark into my new life. And here I am today, some 15 years after practicing coaching.
Wow. Wow. I've never yet had a tax consultant come onto the show. Of course, no
There you
longer a
go.
tax consultant. There you go, right? And I just want to pause here for a moment, if it's okay, because it's just interesting how different people have come into coaching. I'm just curious. What actually were the things that drew you into coaching, besides, of course, having experienced yourself with a coach?
As I said, one element is the ability to connect at a
Yes.
different level with others, and supporting others in a form that I had not experienced before, but that I had experienced myself, being supported. And so along with the others, I think there is something about the self, and something around serving my own purposes, which is, for example, a purpose of really understanding myself better, staying aligned to my intentions. And also, there is a possibility to live a life that I want. I mean, being a coach allows you to really focus on what you enjoy doing. It really allows you not just to continuously discover yourself, but also to walk the talk if you wish.
Yes, that's right.
There is also another part of it, which is about serving a genuine interest to around humans and human dynamics. When you coach, you always serving others, and you are also learning from others, and you understand more about yourself, about them, and about, in general, the humankind. And I have this strong passion to really stay always open to receive new learning about human dynamics. This is something that with coaching I can do probably in ways that I couldn't do in any other form.
That's beautiful. That level of awareness, that level of really getting down to serving humanity, connecting, as you say, your word. Tell us a little bit about your initial couple of years. I often hear from coaches saying, oh, it was not a walk in the park because it was tough the first few years. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. The first few years are where, for me, as you said, probably as for many others, quite years of extensive learning in terms of and transformation, in terms of beginning with the, let's say, how-to of coaching. What is coaching all about? What are the rules? What does it mean? But there are layers of learning as well, and one of that is also building your own identity. Like yes, I am a coach. Calling yourself, naming yourself.
Yes.
And then you start to tell stories about yourself to others. Tell your story of becoming a coach first, and then being a coach, and then there are layers and layers that add to it. Like, you start to realize, okay, this is a passion, this is an interest, but it's also a business. And so you need to think of it also as a business, especially if this is your main source of income, and if this is the main way in which you support yourself for your life. And so my path was also of discoveries of things that I could do differently than I used to, especially when I was working in the corporate environment. And so you need to discover things that you were not used to, or you were not aware of, rather, including going out in the world and try to connect again to people that can be interested to your stories and to hear you, and then eventually work with you. So you have to have that mindset of a learner, just as much as when we are a coach. The mindset of someone that is building an awareness that there is something that can offer to others, and yet there is a lot of gaps that need to be closed. So that is not an easy path to follow. It wasn't easy for me, because at the beginning there is a lot of anxiety about the uncertainty of the future, and then you have small wins, and that generates some new enthusiasm, and then you have some small losses, and that generates some drawbacks, and overall you grow as an individual. Overall you become more let's say aware of what it works for you and what doesn't, what you really like and what doesn't, what you still want to pursue expanding and what you want to let go. It's a transformation that is ongoing. And so the beginning was marked with great supporting friends and colleagues that were able to be there for me when I needed to build confidence as a coach. So a recommendation to everybody is to just stay on the lookout for those connections among your inner circles, because these are crucial. And over time, stay aligned to your true, genuine interest, because doing something for others, at least based on what I learned, doesn't pay off. But doing something that really spoke to my own genuine self, and whether it's about learning, whether it's about serving the clients I really wanted to work with, and let go of those I wasn't enthusiastic about, it really allowed me to move with a level of integrity that was the real driver and let's say fuel for who I am today.
That's so beautiful, what you just said, right? About, again, that connecting with yourself, and then also connecting with that inner being of yours, being true to what you stand for, that voice within you.
Can I add one thing?
Oh, yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Which is about lightness. In other words, don't take yourself too seriously. And what I mean by that is that
I like that.
Inevitably, we go and try to do things with our best intentions, no question. Especially because typically we make the choice of becoming a coach at the time in life when we probably are walking with a backpack full of knowledge and experience already, if you know what I mean.
True.
So we have a lot already in this backpack, and yet, despite our best intentions, we might do things incredibly wrong, especially when we are in a coaching conversation and we are not really completely there or present, etc. So I like what Nelson Mandela used to say, which is, I never make mistakes. I either do it right or I learn from it. And that is what I'd like us to be, this energy, to have this energy when we are doing coaching. And that's what I mean by saying, don't take yourself too seriously, which I mean, what Mandela said, you either enjoy the view, which is you're doing it right, or just learn from it. And it's not easy, obviously, because it might affect our, emotional state. Yes. And yet, when we are doing it with an intention of learning, the next experience is invariably destined to be better if we have this mindset. So that's the one piece I wanted to add.
Thank you. And it really segues very nicely, right, to this question when I asked, over your 15 years, right? Tell us, what would be that 3 insights for the audience today?
Yeah. Well, maybe the first one I have already mentioned, which is this awareness that learning is endless. And truly embracing the fact that you can learn a lot about life in general.
Yeah.
And if we have this, and we are really not only curious about it, but genuinely interested to expand, then the second insight that I have is that there is something there to be learned about others and about us. So this is something that fascinates me. I cannot recall 2 coaching stories, coaching conversations that are identical, that are the same.
That's true.
Yes, we might have patterns, but the uniqueness of each of my clients, it's a fascinating thing for me. I look forward to hearing their uniqueness, because I am aware and I'm looking at that relationship with these eyes. And when I do that, there is something about that relationship with my clients that help me to be a better me. And so it's about serving my life, myself, to become more and more a person that walk the talk, that is aligned to intentions. And this is all about starting with that awareness that we have endless possibilities to learn. We might learn a lot. We might be aware of a lot of stuff. We might add certificates. We might add titles. We might add whatever you want. And yet, there will be so much more that we can still acquire. That, to me, define my mindset as a coach. And I invite everybody to really explore this possibility as well.
It just reminds me of how that whole reflection of what we are going through, it's sometimes reflected back to what the client is going through. And then what the client is going through is being reflected back to us. And I'm just curious to ask this, because in your journey, do you think that the clients were the one that chose you, or was it the other way around, because of that very presence that you bring, right? That connectivity that you bring? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a wonderful question. And Mel, I think it takes 2 to tango.
I understand.
I believe that there is a bit of both. You need to have both something, I don't know what, but there is something, the alchemy of coaching and of the coaching relationship that defines the energy that connects. And I truly cannot tell where it's coming from. I wish I did. I would probably write a book about it and become a billionaire. But I can,
there you go.
But I can say that the best way to funnel this is by staying true to you, to yourself. Because that genuinity comes out. we cannot really fake ourselves for too long.
So true. Yeah.
You can do it, you can try, and you can speak, someone else's speech and make it sound as yours. But you can do it once, you can do twice, thrice, but sooner or later it will come out. And you will not be pleased with yourself. And then, it will be a even steeper road to walk. And that lack of genuine self would not probably attract the audience that would come to you if you were true yourself in the way you show up in the world. And so the message probably there is that although I do not know what really are the ways to make it happen, I can say that to maximize the potential for it to happen is to be true to you. At the end of the day, in coaching, we bring our whole self. It's a very personal thing. When we coach, we are bringing into that conversation and into that relationship the whole package.
That's right.
We don't partially do coaching. It's a full delivery of our full self. And so the more we are able to maintain an aligned presence, alignment in many ways, the more we are genuinely embracing where we are in our life journey, which means perfection doesn't exist. We will, always try to close gaps and never get really to close them all. Yet we are able to be so genuinely there that chances are that at the other end, there are the best people for us. And that matching is what really help us to go back to my initial metaphor, the best dance. I love to dance tango, by the way. So, but I can say, and I know that in Australia there are many people that love to dance tango too. So, and in the world, of course. But when I dance tango, although I might dance the same theme, the same music, I will never dance in the same way with two dancers. There will be always uniqueness in how together we co-create, in how together we are really dancing with each other or each other and enjoying that whole experience. And this happens because I'm not pulling or pushing. When I'm pulling or pushing, neither of us is enjoying it. But we are really allowing it to happen. And I try to dance in the best way that comes out for me, as much as I want to coach in the best way that comes out for me. And to do so, we go back to what we said before. Yes, we need to learn a few things, but then we need to be genuinely present.
I'm smiling because I align with that so much, because I tell my younger coaches coming in, right? When you're able to be comfortable with your own voice and be able to be comfortable with yourself, right? Your fullness of yourself, as you say, actually there is no competition, because truthfully, you're the only person like you in the world, and you will attract as you say so beautifully, the right dancer will obviously come along. And because of this continuous evolution of transformation, that's what I've been getting so far, right? It seems like every so often, because of our own transformation, we will also be attracting the other level, another layer of different clientele will come our way. Is that what's happening? in your space at least?
I would say so, yes. And those layers to me are also indicative of the level of awareness that we have about ourselves, about us in the world, about me and the others, which allow us to also to, as we dance, we can co-create a new dance each time, which is evolving, and we can enjoy in different ways. It would be so boring to be repetitive and to do all the steps, the similar steps, and always the same, and no matter what, is always the same step, no matter what dance, no matter what rhythm. The same would happen in coaching. Those layers would allow us to really, instead of repeating mechanically certain questions, repeating mechanically certain answers, repeating mechanically certain things that happen in coaching, to really be generative. And adding layers allow us to add potential for being generative. And as we move along in our evolution, we are also considering the best partner, which is our clients, to be part of this creation. As much as when in the dance, if I can follow with the parallelism, we are not just dancing with our own foot, we are dancing with their feet as well. So that we are kind of doubling up, and we can see the potential of the beauty of things that can happen when we allow it to happen. And the same is for coaching. We are really serving our clients. We are really there with our clients, let them probably lead us as opposed to go the other way around. Now, this is a very different thing this goes back to how it all began. As a coach, each of us begins in a way that maybe is not in the realm of coaching. We might come, as I did, from consulting, where you are the expert, others from other directions of life where they have certain expertise, and now you're in coaching, and everything changes. The expert is the client, and how can you really allow that to happen, for them to shine in their expertise? Who are you? And this might generate questions about yourself in terms of not just your identity, but what is the value you bring? What is your value? And then how am I going to be judged and appreciated for what I bring inside the relationship? Well, as soon as we transform these questions into something of a awareness that we are creating values just by allowing the client to dance, by allowing the clients to create that dance, which in a coaching context means to move forward, to get to where they want to go to by being with us, then everything changes. Everything is different. And those layers magically add up at a speed that we couldn't anticipate. I think this is a pivotal moment, which probably we all experience as coaches, that we see that, wow, these are our aha moments when we see through, by being with clients in ways we were not being before, we see a new light, and that can be a true transformation. Or to use your words, those can be the layers that can make a difference in the way we are.
So true, and that got me thinking about, what if the client brings a new track, a new song, a new way, right? And that's about how flexible the coach is going to allow that space to happen, right? What do you think about that? New song, I love it. New tempo.
And look, especially if that song we never heard before.
Yes.
At the beginning, we might feel uncertain, and sometimes we might even say, not all of it. It's just just a tiny bit. And yes, this is part of the experience of becoming a coach in terms of being with the others. Depends when the client is offering this new song.
Yes.
It can be that a coach needs to be aware of those people that are ideal clients, because they bring the best song and symphonies for us. And there might be clients we don't enjoy working with.
True.
And so we need to be aware of those. And there is nothing personal here in terms of, against one specific client, I would say. But it's about really knowing how we can be the best coaches for the others. And if, like when I dance tango, if there's something that doesn't generate energy in me, like a song that doesn't really, if I'm sitting, push me to stand up and go and dance, and this happens, I stay seated. And we need as coach to be aware that we might enjoy to work with certain audiences, we might not with others.
Yes, very true.
Instead of pursuing everything, we need to be aware of where we want to place ourselves. And also when a client in a coaching conversation brings something that is a sort of a song that it doesn't sound right. For example, the most obvious thing comes to me is when a client might say, look, I hired you as a coach, but now I want some advice. And changes the nature of the relationship. You might want to do that. You might not. And you might say to a client, what it comes up for you, or bring it back to the engagement that originally was created. And from there, decide what is next. Are you going to stop to dance, or are you going to invite to dance in a different way? You're negotiating, you change. And this comes, also the way we respond depends on where we are in our journey, personal journey. Whether we have fears of losing or not losing, whether we have fears of being judged or not judged, how we can engage in a way that is still maintaining the quality of that connection that inspired us at the beginning to become a coach. These are pivotal moments for each of us. And yet when we can go through them in the ways that maintains that integrity of us and the alignment to our intentions, clients normally enjoy that, to call it differently, professionalism. And actually, if anything, they would continue to work with us because of that.
Absolutely.
And at the beginning, I would say, before we start even working with clients, being aware of all this allow us to really, as I said before, to look for clients that are truly clients we want to work with, and let go of temptations to go where we don't want to go.
Very true. Very true. I love the last part that you say, the temptations. They do come. And I'm going to link it with this question. What would be your bravest moment as a coach, Giuseppe?
This is a great question. I think a couple of times I had to, so to stay with this topic, I had to let go of clients. It was clear that was not either the right time for me or for them to be together. And so I had to let go some clients to really maintain that, as I said before, level of integrity for myself. This is not an easy thing, especially if a client believes that you are the best one, and you realize that they are not there for being coached, but for other reasons. Or other intentions, genuinely, not necessarily a malign, form of being there. So those are certainly things that come to mind. I was brave when I decided to start coaching. For me, was a true new beginning. I went through several new beginnings in my life, in terms of big changes, personal level, and both in terms of time and space. One of which is abandoning everything that you have done in your first life and start a new life in coaching. But I want to say that this paid off over time enormously. Yes, at the beginning I was fearful. Yes, at the beginning I had a few nights, where instead of sleeping I was thinking.
Yes.
But then now I wake up every day that I have full energy. The other day, my financial advisor called me and said, have you ever thought about retirement? I said, no. I said, what do you mean? You need to think about retirement. He said, no, I won't. Why? I said, well, I'm not planning to retire. You see, I am like those singers that want to die on the stage while they're singing. I want to retire. I love coaching, and hopefully I will die while I'm coaching someone, if you know what I mean. It's it's different how you see yourself in life. So I think that change was, starting anew after having spent years building my first life. Adding an enormous amount of degrees and certificates and title and work experience and traveling the world to try to build a life, etc., etc. And then you say, that's it. We turn the page. That was a brave choice, but I think was the best choice of my life.
Wow. Just letting that resonate with people. Simmer in like a slow cooked broth. Just allowing all of that flavor sink in, because what you just said is so powerful, and I'm sure there are some who really wanted to hear that, because you reach a junction in your life and you realize you can turn left, you can turn right, or you can continue on that journey, right? You can continue going forward, and you still may enjoy it, or you may not.
Exactly.
Yeah. So amazing that you made that decision. And as you say, it is the best decision that you've made, so that you will still remain on that dance floor dancing.
And I did it at the time when I was, becoming a father. So you have a new person in your life, and you to take care of, and the stakes were very high for me, and yet I felt, and I truly believe that was the right thing to do, and yes, it was.
I'm just curious to ask, because I think we've got the son that is about the same age. My youngest is 15 this year.
Yeah, mine is turning 15 too.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering what your son says about you as a coach.
Yes, I mean, I would say there are a couple of things there. From one side, he enjoys the fact that we can process situations that arise between us. Nice. I wouldn't say that being a coach makes me the perfect human being. I'm not at all, as I was saying. So I get triggered, I get fearful, I get anxious, and I may use tones of voice that are I regret using. And all this is not fine, but is a reality. What is different is that I may process inside myself that, because having gone through this journey in my new life allows me to do so, and then approach him. And I can see sometimes he doesn't really say it because maybe he doesn't articulate it with words, but I can certainly see that his body language and the fact that he's there with me is appreciative of me being with him. So that helps a lot in terms of how we maintain the relationship, how we go through the challenges. Again, I'm not trying to portray this as being a pure, paradise. It's not an easy thing. We go through all the human experiences, but how we process them is great. And I think he's enjoying that, in my opinion. He's enjoying the fact that I do something that I love doing. I don't complain about, oh my God, I need to go to work. Oh my God, I need to do. I think he sees that. And
so good.
That helps him also to look for something that is true to him. And the way he then, shares things that are meaningful for him when he does, it makes me believe that he's receiving the messages that directly or indirectly I am willing to send him. So time will tell. I cannot speak about the future, of course. Time will tell. But I have, let's say, some indicators right now, some little clues that allow me to say that my journey is somehow cross-pollinating.
That's a good word.
And I hope this will be true. We will see.
I just want to take this time to say I so align with all the things you just said, especially the part when you're saying, I'm just a normal human being going through the motions, right? Going through the processes, and yet having a chance to step back, reflect, and re-engage, perhaps with a different perspective. And that is beautiful. Just wanted to affirm you that you're doing a good job.
Right.
And the future is where our children are going to play in, right? And this is where I lead into that question. Giuseppe, where do you see the future of coaching heading?
That's a great question. So the core of coaching is the conversation. And that can be as humanly possible as it can be. Now, what happened during that conversation depends on so many things. So from one side, so I want to answer by analyzing a few aspects, not everything, but a few key things. From one side, as coaches, as professional coaches, we are understanding more about our profession and what it takes to be a good coach from one side and the professional coach from another side. And that is reflected in the competencies that are continuously evolving to reflect our understanding of what is needed to support clients in the best way and to maintain professionalism in this profession that we so much love. That's one side of the story. But I started by saying this is a conversation and now a human conversation, and yet technology plays a big role. I'm thinking about artificial intelligence. Of course, now we are talking via Zoom, and the technology can allow us to do things that we might not be able to do on a face-to-face. Face-to-face allow us to do things that we might not be able to do via this technology. And going forward, artificial intelligence may add to it possibilities. So the future is, for me, of course, uncertain in terms of being so predictable, but certainly I can predict that it will be different from what we have today and what we are experiencing today. And what it means for coaches, I believe, is that we need to be open to learn to make this journey in new and different ways all the time. If we look at the history of human transportation, if I may use this parallelism, we start from when we are kids, 2 arms and 2 legs, and then we start to walk, and then over the history we invented from bicycles to the engine, and then the wind, you name it. And now we have from the airplanes, and now we have the satellites, etc., or whatever it is that allow us to do have a different experience. Now we are learning to use electricity to do things differently. We can be in our own car without having to drive it, and who knows what is going to happen in the future. And we are learning to have journeys using technology constantly in different ways. Not to mention the use of technology on the go, like the telephones, etc., and how it affects us to be, for example, coaches on demand. We can be accessed at any time, and what it means for me, etc., etc. So this is a continuously evolving realm of life. And as coaches, and obviously we are not the only profession affected by this, but talking of coaching, what does it mean for me as a coach myself, and for me as I relate to my audience, to my clients? The evolution is obviously coming of coaching being affected by many components, but it's coming from many directions. So while we need to maintain a sort of balance, not to feel overwhelmed with all the changes, and again, go back to our integrity, our staying really grounded, etc., might help. On the other side, we need to be open, I believe, to possibilities that arise, and really explore how that affects us. Even the way we learn. For example, I'm thinking about this podcast being recorded, and who knows, in a few months or who knows when, it can be revisited by someone that is going through a learning journey. So even learning becomes, we need to own it. We need to know what we want to learn and go and look for it. How is this affecting me as a coach, and who knows if we are going to capture this into new competencies going forward. There are things that, talking of our ICF competencies, are very different today than when we both started a few years ago. And the new coaching competencies are very different. Some are not, but some components are different. The language is different because of what we mean, what we understand, and what we want to see, what we think is working, what we had to let go because it was no longer appropriate. So coaching is definitely evolving. If nothing else, we need to embrace this. And then how it's going to be, we need to probably consider each of us individually based on where we are, where we want to be.
Beautifully said. And what comes to mind is the dance. It's the evolution of dance as well.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Right. The waltz, the foxtrot, and then going into different dance today, different routines, different ways of execution. Wow. You can even have a dance party without even being there, right? Perhaps even virtual one day. It's continuously evolving, as you say, right?
Absolutely.
And yes, somewhat there is a fusion. It's like a melting of things coming together, right?
Yes.
That technology and that conversation, it's just blending so beautifully. As long as we're open, that's what you just said. Beautiful. And it just begs me to ask you this question, right? If you had a chance to do it all over again, Giuseppe, what would you do differently?
Well, again, a great question here. And Mel, maybe the first thing that comes to mind maybe is that I would start this journey earlier.
Got it.
But it's easy to say now.
Yeah.
Because things happen for a reason in life, and that maybe I had to do that first part of my life, or how I call it, my first life, was enabling my second life.
Yeah.
But certainly there is a longing today, or more than a longing, let's say a thought, that had I started it earlier, I would have probably enjoyed it for longer, because I would have, gone through this new life much earlier. And this is something that, going back to our conversation on our children, it's something I tell my son. I tell him, I'm not going to tell you what you need to be or the profession you need to do, because that is you to choose. What I'm telling you is that whatever you choose, it must be something that it's ignites energy every day, ignites enthusiasm. It's truly something that for you is the quintessential pleasure of life. And that requires a lot of listening to yourself. So it requires a lot of self-exploration. And maybe that brings me to say that would I start it all over again? I don't know if I could choose coaching, but I would probably start the self-exploration, that listening to myself a little bit earlier. You see, that is something that I probably would do it differently.
Thank you. So important, huh? Listening in. And the theme that we've been talking so far has been about understanding your inner self, discovering that, getting to know that a lot more, and being able to live with it, right? And enjoy it, right?
Exactly.
In the fullness of it. And I think that's what we've been sharing so far. It's just truly magical. It's like a magical dance routine. I'm linking it back to that again.
Exactly.
And still not perfect. Still not perfect, because there is that room for that evolution.
Yes.
I would love your last bit of wisdom for our new budding coaches coming in, Giuseppe, because there are, right, quite a lot coming into our industry, our beautiful industry. What would be your advice for them?
Yeah, well, I probably gave a few things already, but just to revisit what comes to me as being important right now. The first thing is to stay in this profession and try to really make a living from it, let alone the journey of learning and the expansion, only if it's something that you do because you embrace it fully. It's something that gives every morning new energy, new enjoyment, and not because you don't know what else to do. Coaching is the easiest thing, and coaching is the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
It's both ways.
Yeah.
And unless there is a true alignment to what you really, really want to in life, so coaching aligns to that, it can become a nightmare. And don't take my word for it, just go through a few experiences with clients that might generate initially some frustration or discontent, and then over time frustration, and you will see yourself.
So true.
Secondly is once you resolve this, as I said before, consider the learning journey as a never-ending journey. You have a great master in your coaching teachers, and once that teacher has completed their journey of teaching, there will be another great master that will come to life, to your life, to add to that learning. And you need to embrace these new components, this new part of your learning journey, and this will be a never ending. So have that openness. Thirdly, as I said before, yes, this is passion. Yes, this is enjoyment, but this is also business. And we must look at this profession also with a component of business, because if this is your source of income, if this is how you are making a living, especially if you have a family, etc., you must look at it 360. You cannot just look at it at what it brings to you to evolve as an individual. You also have to see the other piece. And so that too allows you to define, once you truly embrace also this component into your coaching world, that would allow you to, I wouldn't say close the circle, there are other pieces, but to add to that circle a very big component that ultimately might give you new enthusiasm to do more of this coaching, in terms of, the learning, in terms of who you want to work with, in terms of your offerings, etc., etc. So these, I would say, I mean, I can go on and on, but these, I think, are three pieces that might help the initial, the junior coaches.
So beautifully said. Wow, wow, wow. I'm so appreciative of your time, and this is often my last question, so I'll ask it. What would be your powerful question that you want to leave behind to all of the audience watching this today?
Well, I'm guessing the audience would be probably mainly coaches, not necessarily only, but it could be that it's mainly. But my question that comes to me, probably because we talked so much about this today, it might help everybody in every direction of life. And here's the question: what would be different for you if you were fully present? So, and that can be a question you might want to ask when you revisit an experience of life, whether it is with your coaching client, whether it is with your children, with your life partner, with your friends, with your business partners or encounters, or with yourself. How I take, and by the way, this is a question I ask myself too, and I keep asking because I fail to be present more often than you might imagine. And I go back and revisit it. And go back to Mandela. I don't do this to go into self-judgment and feel misery, but rather to learn and do it differently and better next time. And so this is the question I would leave you with for you to ponder.
So beautiful, so beautiful. Well, this is the time where we say, Giuseppe, please leave us some of your social handles. How can we come in contact with you?
Well, I mean, if you Google my name, my website, the LinkedIn profile should show up. So GiuseppeTotino.com or Giuseppe Totino on LinkedIn. I think I'm probably the only Giuseppe Totino that is an MCC coach out there. So that shouldn't be too difficult. And,
wonderful.
by this means, people should be able to find me, and all the contact details are there.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Really, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you once again. Any things that you want to say? Any last thoughts, perhaps?
Yeah, I only want to say also thank you for having me here today. It was a great pleasure, really, to have this conversation. Thank you for hosting me. I want to say to the audience, best wishes with all your endeavors, and to you, Mel, good luck with this podcast. You're doing a great service to our coaching profession. It's really remarkable, the investment of time and energy you're putting in, and so thank you.
And thank you. And to all of you, this has been the 100 Master Coaches show with my special guest, Giuseppe, and myself, Mal, saying catch you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
You have been watching the 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Brought to you by Catalyst Coach. www.catalystcoach.live. We will be right back with our next Master Coach on the 100 Master Coaches series.